Was it me in a past life?
Was it?
Well, it would be really hard for her to come through for a reading because you are her.
This is called My Sister Reincarnated into a Rat.
Anyway.
So we have stories.
Yes. Do you want to tell everyone the theme?
Past lives, reincarnation. Who were we? What are we? Were we here before?
Howdy doody.
This is Two Girls, One Ghost.
Two Girls, One Ghost. And we are your ghostesses. That is Corinne.
Hello.
And I'm Sabrina. It's not a ghost story, but it's a house update that I thought was so cool.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so last summer when Payne and I moved into the house, I talked about how I kept finding pennies everywhere, remember? Mm-hmm. It was like so weird, just as context. So this house was built in 1767 and is a very historical house, and it's known to have some pleasant, happy, good ghosts roaming the halls.
Yeah.
And I kept finding pennies in just the most random places, like on our bathroom sink, on a kitchen counter, just like randomly appearing in line of vision.
And like in very obvious places.
For you to look, to see. So I haven't found pennies like that in a really long time, but then I don't know why I was on the floor in my closet, but I was. And the floor panels are just like starting to spread further away from each other. So there's like a gap between them. And I noticed that there are pennies underneath the wooden floorboards in the closet, like tons of them. And it's not like, oh, this accidentally fell and got stuck in here. They're fully wedged underneath the floorboards.
I wonder what that means.
So I posted it on our Instagram story and was like, help me. So there are a couple options. One is that they were placed there for good luck. And people were like, those pennies might be worth money because if they're from 1767, because these floorboards are original to the house. The other option, one of the other options.
But then you'd have to rip up the floorboard.
I know. Well, one of the other options is that they placed them there as like levelers. But then I'm like, it's 1767. I don't think they're just like throwing pennies away. Like, the money is just worth a lot more back then.
But also this is the people who built this home, like probably weren't worried about pennies.
I think that, I don't know though, Marblehead was a really, really poor town. And there were like 6 families living in this house when it was first built.
I guess that's true.
They were all like fishermen. The whole town smelled like fish. It was like disgusting. People, like the old timey newspapers about 60s and that time when people visited Marblehead, the first thing they all commented on was the disgusting
odor.
Smell. Yeah. The other option that I just thought of is the previous owners, so I'm going to have to ask them, but the previous owners did a lot of renovations on the house, and it makes me wonder if they did temporarily lift up any of the floorboards and then as some sort of leveler or something, put pennies under there, because one penny I was able to get out was from 1972.
Oh, okay. So I have a question. How are these... Are they like perfectly placed, or does it look like they're just, because I'm also thinking like this is a very normal thing, I think, for like our parents' generation and above. In my parents' closet, they also have just like a tub of change. Every time they had like pennies or dimes or whatever, they just stick it in the tub. And so I'm thinking, what if that fell over? And because they're spaced out, things were getting stuck.
It's interesting because there's one spot where you can see like 3 pennies and they don't look like they're accidentally placed there. They do seem like side by side, and they're really, really wedged under there. And then there's another place.
So are they horizontal or vertical? Like
they're flat.
So they're underneath
the floorboard.
How did you get the one out?
It was the least underneath of all the pennies.
So you were able to kind of like wiggle it.
I used tweezers and pulled it out.
But it was from the
1970
so it
something.
Can't be.
It's obviously not original unless they're time travelers, which would be so sick.
Yeah.
But
yeah, you need to ask the most recent
owners. Yeah.
Because like, what is the purpose of that?
Right.
Unless it was just a fun little thing.
A little treasure for me.
A little treasure. Exactly. For the next homeowner.
Confusion.
And they found it pretty quick.
And they also did put a mound in the backyard just as a talking piece. So I wouldn't put it past them.
Point of intrigue.
Yeah.
Random collection of pennies underneath old floorboards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although I would argue that that was the wrong move to make, because then if the wrong homeowner's in there, you tempt someone enough to pull up an original floorboard and potentially ruin it.
Well, I am tempted to pull up the original floorboard without ruining it. Like,
don't.
Marblehead there's so many historic houses that I'm sure I could find someone who deals with historic homes without harming the wood itself.
What a weird little mystery.
There's also a place in our house that's actually weirdly above the creepy corner in our basement that the psychic had told us about.
Mm-hmm.
So it's dining room, my office, that's like the main floor. But like in the middle of those rooms, the floor is starting to go like this in the very middle. So like the floorboards in the middle like peek up. Yeah.
Like something's trying to get out.
It's weird. Anyway.
So we have stories.
Yes. Speaking of old things, do you want to tell everyone the theme?
Past lives. Reincarnation. Who were we? What are we? Were we here before? Who
think
stuck
so.
the pennies underneath the floorboards?
Was it me in a past life?
Was it? Were you Polly?
I wish. Polly is the bird lady of my home. Okay, well, I have...
Cut that. Let's give no context.
Yeah. Okay, so I have a story from our listener, Lauren, and it is called How My Past Life Found Me. And Lauren says, I think I would pass out if I heard your voices telling my story. I'm so excited for you to dive into my crazy experience. So, Lauren, I hope you're sitting on a couch.
Lay down right now.
So you can pass out while you hear
Safely.
us. Yes. Hi, ladies. I am a fairly new listener, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate the community you have built through your work. I especially love how you come up with so many theories and really dive into each case. So I'm looking forward to maybe one day hearing you both come up with theories for my story. I have had a lot of experiences throughout my life. I'm very sensitive to everything, physically and spiritually, and a lot of my information comes to me in dreams, such as deaths of family members, visits from said people. I've been told I'm a healer and a natural therapist. I am a dental hygienist, and I joke with my patients that while I am not a licensed therapist, I do have experience. I know who a person is before they even speak to me. I can feel what people around me feel. I know when my coworkers are having a bad day, and even sometimes I have patients' family members from the other side join us in the appointments.
Oh my God.
I never disclose to the patients though, because that's not why they're coming to me.
Yeah.
But let me tell you about the biggest discovery I've made in my life. I think I'll probably change names or not use their names simply for my own privacy, because I only want people closest to me to know the full details and be able to identify the people in these stories. That might change one day, as I plan on writing a book about the local girl who passed away in my hometown in 1930. But for now, let me take you on a journey. 3 years ago, I stood at a gravesite in my hometown. As I was standing there, the voice of my sister came from behind me saying, she was only 18 when she died. Funny, I have been coming here since I was 10 and I never made that discovery. Now, well into my 20s, I was more disappointed in myself for never actually reading the headstone. I only ever knew the basics. It was pretty. There was a pen name, mountains and flowers and vases etched into the face of this thing. A quote presumably written by this deceased author across the bottom. 2 trees were planted behind, purposefully spaced to lure guests to the back of the cemetery. This headstone was meant to be seen, and for years it had roped me in. I was drawn to it. Even while I was in college, I would go back to visit this grave, to visit her. So why did it take another person to notice a very important detail? Perhaps it's due to my hatred for numbers. I can't do anything math-related, so I don't even put forth the effort. Or was it time for me to finally know? So many questions flooded my mind. She was so young. How did she have a pen name? What did she write? I saw that her mother was buried next to her. But where's her dad? What is going on? So I went home and dove into a rabbit hole of our local newspaper's online archives. It had just been scanned into that format, so I was lucky to even have found that kind of outlet for research. I typed in her actual name and was flooded with hundreds of pages of her life. I was glued to the timeline as documented in the newspaper, ranging from letters to Santa, honor roll status, a house fire, travels to Colorado.
What?
Her full life was right in front of me.
How?
Isn't this wild? Well, because she was an author, I guess. But still.
I know, but yeah, that's wild.
After probably a few hours of reading about her, I finally clicked on the last document, her obituary. I knew how this was going to end, but I was crushed. She was married in Colorado in January and came back to finish high school when she succumbed to a heart condition in May of 1930. She was only 18 years old. They had a list of her accomplishments, including being a gifted writer. One of her poems was featured in her obituary, and even one featured in her mother's obituary years later. I really started to feel a presence with me on the couch that night. I got a chill on my left arm and looked in that direction. I knew it. She was next to me. I felt her unlike any presence I had ever felt before. I got the words soul sister in my mind. She was so excited and smiling at me. My heart fluttered like the wings of a bird, and I discovered my life's mission, to find her again. Being an only child, I think her mother knew that her name would be lost eventually. So her mother published her journals 4 years later, and I knew I had to find them. I took to Amazon and I typed in her pen name. 2 books appeared in my search, and I couldn't believe it. One was $14 and the other was $74. Yikes. I sat on it for 2 weeks. We were in the middle of our own home renovation and money was tight. But one morning I woke up with my mind made up. This has been in my life for so long that it felt like a worthy investment. So I purchased the book for $74. I even messaged the sender to see where he got it, but got a pretty vague response. This thing took weeks to come in, and when I started thinking the guy had stolen my identity, it at last showed up on my porch. As I opened this book, I instantly knew there was something special about it. Goosebumps crept up my arms and around my neck. I flipped through the pages and tilted it back and forth to read the extra pages of information glued in place. There were more photos of her belongings, a write-up about her life, a stamp of her mother's name, a Colorado address stamped in the front. And as I read it, I quickly realized how parallel our lives were. I named my dog after the road she lived on 4 years prior. We both drove a Buick. Like the fact that she didn't even know this. We went through the same things in life. Broken hearts, parents divorced, friendships shattered, high school yearbook editors. We were both really close to our English teachers in high school. List goes on. Her poetry and the way she talked was so beyond her years, but braided in her words was the deep urge to make a difference in this world. She wanted to make art and to help others, and she just knew God put her here for a reason, and she hoped that she was fulfilling her duties. She was diagnosed with a leaky heart at a young age and had this deep feeling that she had limited time on earth. I then made it my mission to carry on her mother's wishes, to keep her daughter's legacy going on to inspire others for years to come. She lived in the moment, loved hard, and created beautiful things. So then I went ahead and bought the second copy of her published journal on Amazon. What to do with this information now that I had her with me every day? Every step I took, she was with me. I even talked to her every chance I had. She never left my side. I published an article in the same local newspaper letting everyone know that she had been rediscovered and asking for more information. If nothing else, I got names of very distant cousins, but mostly just people thanking me for letting her resurface. I then went to the Historical Society. Everyone knew who she was, but no one knew what had become of her parents or where her belongings were. She was a fond, distant memory in our town. But to me, she was everything the world needed. Deep into my research, a lady who was a few years older than me contacted me directly. She actually dressed as this girl during a Historical Society cemetery walk and had information for me. Upon doing her own research years ago, a distant cousin gave her the original journals.
Whoa.
And she gave them to me. Y'all, I flipped through her handwriting. The energy pumping off of these things was intense. I had to put them in another room while I slept. In her journals, you feel more of her pain that she felt when her parents separated, which is not something you did back then. Over the course of the next couple of years, after the very exciting puzzle I was putting together, my own life kept pressing on. I had my daughter and I was thrown in the throngs of postpartum depression. What intensified it was that I was no longer able to feel much of my soul sister on the other side, and I wasn't even able to get anything spiritual at all. It was like my neon light was turned off. The curtains were closed. To try to help to get back to myself again, I took intuition classes from a prominent medium, and I paid extra for one-on-one time with her as well. I needed answers and I needed to feel better. The medium appeared on my computer screen and we talked a lot about things off balance in me and why. My primary guardian angel's name was Augustina, and she was not only my angel, but at one time was my ancestor. I was so fascinated. She then asked if I had any questions about anything, as if she knew that there was a burning question in my heart for years. So I briefly explained my spiritual pal on the other side and asked why she never came through on previous medium readings because I had had several. She paused. Her eyebrows perked. Well, it would be really hard for her to come through for a reading because you are her. My heart stopped. My eyes welled up with tears. Deep down, I think I knew it. She went on to explain that I had been doing what they had been trying to teach people to do. My past life is my higher self. I have successfully separated my higher self and past life and now can actually talk to her / me.
Whoa.
I believe the energy from her presence long ago was powerful enough to lure me back that I was actually finding myself.
Oh my God.
It's like shadow work.
And also like this whole time I'm like, this is just incredible. And it's like, how? And I get that she was an author. I get that she journaled, but so did a lot of people. And their 1930s books and publications and journals don't make it into archives that are publicly accessible.
It's because her mom was like, I want to save all of this stuff.
Yeah, it's wild.
I've always wondered why I never felt her parents' presence as well, but the medium explained that we tend to come back to Earth with the same 15 to 20 souls. I have a sneaking suspicion that my daughter in this life was my mother in my past life. It would explain her attachment to me. We're so close, and I've never personally seen such a tight relationship between any other child and parent. Almost like she missed me for a really, really long time. My journey is just beginning. To continue her legacy is to continue my own. I still love to write. You're an amazing writer. And I'm currently working on several projects. My goal is to be a bright light in small ways. I think that is how we change the world. Shockingly enough, this was the condensed version. Thank you for letting me ramble. I feel like you are my friends because I have your voices with me all the time. See you on the other side, Lauren.
Wow. I just have no words.
Isn't it amazing?
This is incredible. And it's also just so special that her past self also was just so determined to give to the world through writing and was like, I know that I have a short, limited amount of time. I'm going to do as much as I can in this amount of time. And that she gets, through her life as Lauren, another chance at doing many of these same things, which just feels like a mission for the soul. And I guess that's even more, you know, when you think about like Hinduism and Buddhism, and where like the souls have different missions, and through reincarnation, you learn different lessons, and you're just like kind of on a similar journey to like becoming your whole true
self,
higher self.
Yeah.
And it is, I feel like this is just like proof, right? Like she needed more time with this mission, and now she gets it as Lauren presently.
Is also just details like the fact that she named her dog the same name of the street. That her past life had lived on. Like,
it's also like weird, like the relationship with the English teacher,
the symmetry.
Yeah.
There's so much alignment.
Right.
But it does also bring up a question about shadow work because, and this is something that you taught me about how like your friend, your old coworker who helps people collect pieces of their soul that have chipped off. And it's kind of like trauma, if you believe that like when something traumatic happens, a part of your soul chips off and is left behind, kind of like in a residual energy way.
Yeah.
By reading all of the journals, feeling all of that pain, was she almost collecting the pieces of her soul from that past life that had chipped off and recreating a higher self? It's magical. It's so cool. I want to read these journals.
Right. And it's also, well, I'm just curious too about the timing of it all. Maybe this is kind of invisible string theory-esque, where it's like she'd been in the cemetery how many times, but it had to be the right time for her to make the connections.
Yeah.
For this information to present itself.
Because it seems like while reading the journals at that time in her life is when she was able to make that connection and see the symmetry between their lives.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
Oh my God. Wow. $70 well spent. Dang.
Buy that journal, you guys.
Yeah, I want to read the journal.
Of my past life?
About Lauren's.
Of
your past life. I want to read about all of our past lives.
Right.
We still need to find a person. We want to do past life readings, past life hypnosis, past life regression. We're curious.
Yeah, if you know anyone in the Boston, we should also talk to Chris. I'm sure she knows someone.
Oh, you're right. I just met Sabrina's friend Chris from Pentagram.
She's delightful.
You called her like an ethereal fairy, and that is so right.
She's amazing.
It's like inappropriate that I can't stop thinking about her.
She's delightful.
She is.
Yeah.
This episode of Two Girls, One Ghost is brought to you by Graza,
our new favorite olive oil.
It's fresh, it's never blended, and it comes from a single type of olive straight from high in Spain,
where over half the world's olive oil is produced.
And with the trio, you can use it for every single type of cooking because they have 3 different ones. They have the frizzle, they have the sizzle, and the drizzle. So the frizzle is for high heat cooking. The sizzle is kind of like your everyday, got your little skillet meals going, saute. And then the drizzle, I'm addicted to this one. Oh my God. I put it
on some like mozzarella. And tomatoes.
Yes. Even like white rice, like the flavor. Brian's been making some white rice recently and putting this on as the finishing oil. You can taste the oil so well.
You're
and I
making
end up
me
like drenching.
so hungry.
It's so good.
And also these bottles are amazing. They're the little squeeze bottles that make it an easy pour. I almost poured it in my mouth. Take a shot.
We should.
Yeah.
It's so good.
And also they're really beautiful, aesthetically pleasing.
You can get 10% off your first order on Graza's site. And we personally recommend getting the trio. That's all 3 squeezy bottles, the frizzle, the sizzle, the drizzle, so that you're set for every style of cooking.
So head to graza.co and use code TGOG to get 10% off the trio, which includes the sizzle, the frizzle, and the drizzle, and get to cooking your next chef quality meal.
I have a story. This is called My Sister Reincarnated into a Rat.
And
some other good stories.
That is amazing.
I don't have a sister, but that feels like such a sister title to write. Like
100%.
She's a rat.
She's a rat now.
Hi, girls. My name is Braylon. I just started listening to the podcast. I love talking about all things creepy and paranormal, but I have no one to talk about it with. So I guess I'll start at the beginning with a possible reincarnation story.
Ooh.
I have 2 older sisters. I'm technically the youngest. Both of my sisters are 22 and 11 years older than I am. So I really did feel like an only child. My mom and dad had me by accident. My mom was 40 when she had me. After I was born, 2 years later, she got pregnant again with my little sister. And unfortunately, she got into a bad car accident and my sister died in utero due to health complications.
Oh, no. Oh, I'm so sorry.
I should also preface that my parents were both meth addicts and we've had a very dysfunctional family, which may be the cause of all the crazy things that have happened in my life. Anyways, years later, I got a pet rat. I named her a specific name that I can't give out loud. I'll tell you why later.
I also just love that you got a pet rat.
Yeah.
That's a boss move.
I feel like rat girls are...
Forget rat boys. Rat girls for the win.
Rat girls are like tough.
Badass.
Yeah. The women in the movie The Craft would have had rats, right?
Because then they turn into... Oh, no, that's the witches. They turned into
witches. They turn into mice.
Yeah.
I almost said, but The Craft is real. Like... and the witches is fiction. No, they're both. Craftfield's real. Anyways, rats do not live very long, a couple years maybe. And this rat was my best friend and lived for 6 years. She would sleep with me and I would even take her to school with me.
You Stuart Littled with your rat.
I love this.
Did you have like a little bag? Did you sneak her to school?
I know. I'm so curious what this relationship was like. Did you feed her little Cheerios at lunch? What did you do during recess?
Eat your tater tots out of your pocket.
Right?
Yeah.
A little nibble for you. A little cookie for you. I loved her so much. Her name became all of my passwords as well, which is why I can't give her name out. Anyway, she passed and obviously I was heartbroken and my mom insisted on a funeral for her. So I invited friends and family to her burial at the park. And years later, I was talking to my mom about ghosts and whatnot. And she then mentions my rat and how creeped out she was by her name and how close we were. I obviously was very confused as to why she felt that way, and I asked about it further. She tells me my baby sister's name was also the name of my rat. And how
she had no idea that that was going to be...
Nope, no clue. Because her sister hadn't been born yet.
Oh my gosh.
She said it was really strange that she'd lived for so long and how inseparable we were. So basically, my baby sister may have been reincarnated as my pet rat.
I love that.
Got to actually spend some time with her sister, right? Who needs to hunt when you can come back as a pet rat and have a full 6 years? That's great.
Hot take, but I love rats.
Yeah, I've never had a rat problem.
I think they're really
I'm a fan
cute.
of rats too.
Yeah.
Another story about my possible baby sister. Both of my sisters and I have always had really weird dreams about our family. There is one, however, that will always stick out to me. It wasn't scary, but it definitely impacted the way that I saw guardian angels. The dream started out with me outside in a very bad storm. There was a tornado in the distance coming closer and closer, and I was scared and I didn't know what to do. Suddenly, 2 girls showed up with a house behind them. I don't know the best way to explain this house, but it was covered by a big, clear dome. There was an older woman and a little girl, and the older one was slender and tall with very short brown hair, maybe around 40 years old. And the younger girl looked to be maybe 6 at most, with long wavy brown hair and could resemble me in many ways. The older lady invited me into the house for safety and brought me and the little girl into the dome. We watched the tornado come through and hit the dome, but we are all protected. They both turn to me and tell me how I'll always be protected in here with them.
Oh,
chills.
Oh.
I have a good feeling that my little sister and my great aunt were the two that were protecting me, and that this is the way that they told me.
Oh, I just got, that's so beautiful.
My sister would have been about that age when I had the dream, and I've never met or even seen my aunt, but everyone says that she was an amazing person, and I can't help but feel like they're watching over me.
Oh.
My next story is a very short one. My oldest sister and my mom were pregnant at the same time. So I have a niece the same age as me, exactly 2 months and 2 weeks apart.
That's how how Noemi and my half sibling, Luca, are.
It's weird to think about.
Yeah.
But it does happen.
Like Luca is a year older than Delphina. So like their uncle is literally their same age, basically.
Anyways, we grew up more like sisters and we hung out almost every day as children. We've always been in tune with the paranormal from a very young age. And her grandma always said that she was so creeped out by me because from like the age of 4, I always wanted to be a ghost hunter.
Love. You've always been one of us.
Me and my niece were playing at her grandma's with some babies. And I kid you not, we both saw a Barbie levitate off the ground and then drop. We both, to this day, bring it up now and then, making sure that we're remembering it correctly. This next one takes place when I was in middle school. We had a history project to make a report on some type of history of Nebraska, which is where I'm from. And I chose the haunting of Nebraska for my report.
Yes.
Yes. Spooky sister. So I went to as many places as I could to take pictures and learned a lot about the history of some of the places in my area. The one place in specific that I'll be talking about is the oldest cemetery in Nebraska. I didn't do much digging before I went to this place, and neither did the friends that I went with. One of my friends' dad took us, and after we kind of broke in after dark, we walked around and we took pictures and talked about just how creepy it was to be in there after dark. And then all of us, in unison, heard chains dragging across the pavement.
Oh.
It was only us in the graveyard. As we were all looking around, I spotted what looked to be a lady in a long white dress running across the field of graves. I whipped my head around to my friend to point that someone else was there. And as I got their attention and turned back around, the lady was gone.
No.
The chain noise was louder. It got almost deafening. So we decided we'd seen enough. In the car, we were going through pictures and we found that one of the pictures of a grave very distinctly has a face next to the gravestone. And I'm going to attach a picture. We all freaked out, obviously. And when I got home, I decided to look into the cemetery a little more. And I found that it's common to see a lady in white running around looking for her baby, which due to unknown circumstances had passed away.
Wait, so this is another example of why I like to go to a place kind of blind and not knowing the whole history.
Yeah, we do very limited research.
Because there's like this concern of like, if you have preconceived notions, does your brain then create the experience?
Yeah.
But the fact that later after the fact, she confirmed that that's a haunting people experience.
I know. Chains is so strange. It makes me wonder if that was a cemetery trying to be like, you're not supposed to be here, get out.
Oh, interesting.
It's like it was getting louder and louder and louder.
Should we look at the picture?
Yes. It's kind of hard to see without like brightness being bumped up.
I see it. Totally.
But it does look like it's like a side profile, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
It's like only half of the face, but this is like
oh, see, I thought it was turned in that it was a nose. But I guess you're right. It could be
an eye, a nose, and a mouth. Like it's almost in a smile.
Looks like a mask.
It does. It kind of. It does. It kind of looks like
it's like kind of looking a little bit to the side, but it is. You're right. It's front because you can see more of the.
It actually reminds me of a photo we showed in a recent episode, 278. Remember, like they were in a barn, and in the picture, it almost looked like an animal or like weird spirit. It kind of has a similar look.
Oh, you know what this? It looks to me almost like the theater masks,
or like a scary Halloween mask. This is what's hard. Is like, is this just pareidolia?
Right.
Pareidolia, where we're seeing a face because our eyes and brain are trained to do so. But it's definitely creepy.
Okay, but there's more.
Oh my gosh.
So let's continue. The next story takes place on my 17th birthday. In Nebraska, there's a haunted museum called the Museum of Shadows. And it was voted one of the most haunted museums in the world with one of the most haunted dolls named Ada, which I'm going to cover this.
I'm sorry not to be mean, but I've never wanted to go to Nebraska. But now all of a sudden, like I really want to go to Nebraska.
Right? For my birthday, I asked to go to this place with my niece and my sister. In the basement, they have this 10-minute sit challenge where they turn off all of the lights and you have to sit in complete darkness with all of these haunted objects down there with you.
That's amazing.
I want to do this.
I would do it.
I will also mention that the building used to be a brothel and it had something like 5 different confirmed deaths in there.
Whoa.
I asked my niece if she would do the sit challenge with me. And of course, she said yes. So my sister and my other niece stayed upstairs and watched the CCTV of us sitting in the basement.
Can we watch it? I want to see.
My sister took pictures of the TV while we were down there in real time. And I'm going to attach a picture of this. And while me and my niece are down there, we both heard a lot. We saw a woman standing in the back, but it wasn't even the craziest thing that happened.
Oh,
on one of the pictures my sister took, you can very clearly see a child behind us.
Shut up.
There was a doll down there, and perhaps that's what attracted this spirit. But honestly, I think that this could have been Ada since she is so active.
How have we never heard of Ada?
And so now you can see it's so weird because it's like a child, but it's not. It's like miniature. It almost looks like a doll.
Oh my gosh.
It's like a figurine.
It's like a hologram. It's like in Star Wars where they...
Yeah. And it's weird because it's the coloring is different.
This is so wild.
Last photo I will attach, but I also went to the Villisca Axe Murder House and I took some pictures there. But in one of the pictures, you can see a dark orb in front of me, even though no other pictures have that.
Whoa.
It's black.
The orb is black?
Yeah, do you see it?
Oh, on the bottom. Yeah. I see like the white. Oh, whoa. It's kind of like
the white one's probably like maybe a lens flare.
Yeah. That's so interesting because that kind of reminds me of in your aura photos, the white is like supposed to be your guardians or spirits that are around you. But yeah, that looks so concentrated and heavy.
Yeah.
Braylon.
I have so many more stories that I'll share with you soon. I love the podcast. I love you guys too. I hope you guys find my stories comforting.
Some.
The rat, maybe. Your rat sister.
And the dream.
In your dream, but all the other ones. Your investigations, not so much. Okay. Yeah. And this is from Braylon.
Braylon. This is the best combination of things I've ever experienced. Thank you.
Right?
Wow.
You know what's also so interesting is that her rat lived for 6 years and then her dream was of her sister she started dreaming of her sister at age 6, like I presume after her rat had passed, which was the age that her sister would have been.
Even more confirmation to me, at least, that the rat was her sister reincarnated.
Which I didn't even think of that as a possibility, that like when you pass, that you might get an opportunity to just have like a mini life.
Well, it reminds me of the Pollock twins, and we've talked about them recently too in the story. These twins died, and that family got pregnant with twins again, and the twins that were born remembered everything about their past lives as the first set of twins who had passed away.
Yeah, they just picked up again where they left off.
So wild.
But that was like, that was a whole another human life.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about like,
rat life.
I could come back as a rat. I could come back as a
crow
in your yard.
If I ever pass away, get a crow as a pet because I will come back as a crow.
Okay. There are crows in the neighborhood. Did you notice at the front of my door how there's a giant box of peanuts and shell?
Oh, yes. I was wondering what those for. Those for the crows?
Well, partially Noah's birthday and in part crows. Because Noah's birthday is Rookie of the Year, little baseball theme. Cute. So I got some peanuts, but I bought a lot of peanuts. Knowing most people are not going to actually eat those peanuts. It's more for decor because there's 3 or 4 crows and they sometimes follow me on the walk, caw, and like go around the neighborhood, but they're so high up in the trees and I know they can see me, but like I have nothing to
start saying hi to them and have some like shiny things with you. They'll come closer.
I have my tools.
I picked a story called A Psychic's Prediction, Past Life Connections, and the Love I Never Knew from our listener, Liz. Dear Corinne and Sabrina, I am a newer listener and I have been devouring past episodes. I love the kindness and respect you cultivate on this show, and I want to share an experience that profoundly shaped my life and began with a psychic reading that led me to believe in past life connections. When I was 20, I was lost. I flunked out of college, I was struggling to find stable work, and I was fresh from a painful breakup. Feeling directionless, I did what any broke, existentially distressed young person might do. I went to a psychic. Technically, it was a Vedic astrology reading, but the astrologer also happened to be a psychic. Skeptical, I waited for the vague, universally applicable statements psychics are known to throw out, but instead, he told me wildly specific things. He claimed that I was a powerful shaman who had misused my abilities in a past life, and that in this life, my purpose was to become someone worthy of trust. And then he made a really bold prediction that I would meet the love of my life on Valentine's Day of 2002.
And also Valentine's Day, you're like, oh, okay.
When he asked how many children I wanted, I clarified that I didn't want children. And he laughed and said, well, you will have a child, a daughter, and you've known her before, and your love for her will be unlike anything you've ever felt. He also warned, and this is content warning for miscarriage and abortion. He also warned that my natal chart carried signs of miscarriages and abortion. I left that reading shaken, but as life does, I moved on. Then on February 13th of 2002, and I don't know how long after the reading this is, but on February 13th, 2002, a friend suggested we visit an old coworker for his birthday, which was on Valentine's Day, the next day. We bought silly gifts and showed up at his apartment. 3 years later, we were married.
I chose.
Fast forward to 2009, I was pregnant with our first child. Given the accuracy of the psychic's past predictions, I was certain it would be a girl, but it wasn't. I gave birth to a boy, and the love for him I felt was unlike anything I had ever known. As he grew, he began saying unsettling things, asking, "Where's my sister?" or "When is my sister coming?" Sometimes he'd be inexplicably sad, and he would say, "Mom, I really miss my sister." To be clear, my son was an only child, and it was heartbreaking because my OBGYN had told me that I couldn't have any more children due to an autoimmune disorder. Years later, I learned that this was a lie to cover up medical malpractice, which is a whole other story. My God. Once I knew I could safely conceive, I became pregnant almost immediately. Just as predicted, we experienced a miscarriage and then made the difficult choice to terminate a pregnancy due to severe congenital conditions. Finally, after years of loss and uncertainty, we had a healthy pregnancy and had a daughter. But naming her felt impossible. After so much loss, even acknowledging her existence before she was safely in my arms was terrifying. As my due date approached, I am like riddled with chills right now. As my due date approached, I realized we needed to choose a name. So I gave my 4-year-old son a list to pick from. I had my heart set on Violet, but my son, exasperated, said, "You can call her whatever you want, but her name is Eleanor."
Wow.
He was so matter-of-fact about it, so insistent that when she was born, she could be nothing else but Eleanor. Despite their 4-year age gap, my children are deeply bonded. Many times I had to remind my son to love Eleanor with his hands, not his whole body. They were clearly meant to find each other again in this life. I often reflect on that psychic reading. Every single prediction came true, though not always in the way that I had expected. I met my life partner on the exact date predicted, a date that also happened to be his birthday. I had children I knew from past lives. I experienced the loss of miscarriage and abortion, and I found a love I never knew was possible. Since that reading, I've also found professional success, earning a STEM degree and advanced degree in education, and I often think critically about this experience. Could it all be coincidence? But then I look at our natal charts. I am a Cancer sun, Cancer rising, Sagittarius moon. My husband is an Aquarius sun, Taurus rising, Scorpio moon. My children? My son is a Scorpio sun, Cancer rising, Gemini moon. Daughter is a Taurus sun, Sagittarius rising, Cancer moon. Their charts mirror our own in profound ways. I have heard astrologers say that traveling souls tend to have strong astrological connections. Looking at my family, I believe it. I'm enclosing some photos of these loves of mine, but ask that they only be shared with you. Liz.
That is powerful. And that is also just something that's so, I mean, like the psychic thing, like, no, you will have one child and it will be a daughter. Like, I'm sure Liz didn't think about it when she had her son. It's just like, oh, well, he was right about one thing, but not about the other.
Especially, I mean, I'm so sorry that a doctor, like the medical malpractice stuff and like a doctor lying to telling you can't conceive anymore. Geez, but her son also clearly knew Eleanor in a past life.
Right.
Saying, I miss my sister. Truly. And like,
her name is Eleanor.
How old is Eleanor now? And does Eleanor have any knowledge of her past life?
And does she call your son something like a different name, or does he remember himself as a different name? Right. Like, I want research. I want to know who Eleanor and your son were together.
And who's this astrologer psychic?
Exactly. We need his name because we need to go see him ourselves.
We need to call him right now and have him on the podcast.
Okay, I really hope that she actually remembers.
Yeah, I know, me too.
This is like the thing where it's everyone, if you have a psychic involved in your story, you better be sending us their contact as well. If you remember.
This astrologer psychic, was he reading in her chart? Did her chart show some of this stuff? Or was it part of his psychic ability. Like I don't know enough about astrology and chart reading to know what it does show and doesn't show.
But I'm really curious about Noah's chart because he's a Gemini sun, Leo moon. So he's got
Leo,
me and
Brian.
Brian's Gemini sun. I'm a Leo sun. And I'm a Gemini moon. He's me flip flop.
That's so fascinating. We should have Eliza read his chart.
Right. I have an email from Kat. Hello, lovely ladies. I firstly want to say that I absolutely love your podcast. I listen to it during the day whenever I find I have a spare minute. My name is Kat, like the animal. And I've emailed in before to tell you about a story about seeing my great-grandmother when I was the age of 3. I was listening to episode 241, which was all about reincarnation. And personally, I have a lot of experience with that.
A lot?
For a bit of background, I was very witchy growing up, even as a child. I was raised in an Orthodox Christian family in Romania, so growing up, I had some sort of pull towards the mystical. Orthodox Christianity is a very ancient form of Christianity and still keeps a lot of the magic and the chants of the old world.
Cool.
A few years ago, I decided I wanted to know who I was in a past life and where I should go from here. I was laying on my back in my childhood bed and the meditation being guided by my mentor at the time. Following his words, my body became very heavy. And I could feel every fiber of my being dragged down onto the mattress and my consciousness going deeper than my body. I went back to when I was a child, and then further, and then further, and I finally emerged on the other side. My hands felt light, and they were paler than mine. My feet had leather boots on, and I was standing on some cobblestone. I could understand the language around me. It sounded German, but it was English. I was walking into a wooded area around the village. I entered an old-style English inn, and the walls on the outside were off-white, yellowed with black bearings holding the structure. And walking in, all of the people in the pub greeted me, and I went behind the bar instinctually.
What did they say? Like, did they say a name? I'm so curious.
I know. I had a husband, more on that later, that came out and talked to me about something related to raiders. I believe a couple hours later, a guard busted into the inn that I was serving at and accused me of witchcraft. I pleaded for my life, but they kept shouting at me. I ran out of the tavern into the woods behind it, and I was running so fast as my legs would allow me. And I heard horses and dogs chasing after me, barking. I finally heard an arrow being shot, and then immense pain in my leg.
Oh my God.
While I was seeing all of this in my meditative state, my actual leg started to hurt as well and pulled me out of the trance. I woke up from my regression. Well, you see, I have a birthmark on the side of my leg.
No.
It looks exactly like a scar from an arrow shot. From what I was able to piece together afterwards, my most recent past life was during the witch trials in England. I was accused of being one and died in a trial. But I'm not sure how I died, as the last thing I know was that I was shot in my leg. But I do have 2 birthmarks on that leg, on the same side. One that my mom used to say looks like a walnut, and the other one looks like the arrow mark. I tried to do some research on where I lived for my personal pull and witchy instincts, and I think it was York, but I've not been able to locate the forest or the inn exactly. I think it doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately.
I'd be curious because, I mean, there were so many people tried and killed for witchcraft in that time, but I'm curious if there are any records of one woman who worked at some type of inn or pub and being shot and chased through the woods.
Yeah, or just like anyone who in the witchcraft hunt was shot by an arrow.
Right. I wish like record finding was so much easier.
I know. Okay. About 3 years later, I left for the University of London and something pulled me to the city, even when I had offers from other unis in different cities. Well, my first year of university, I met this boy on Hinge. And even if I wouldn't normally go for someone like him, I still matched with him. I felt this pull to talk to him and to see him. Our first date, I somehow knew who he was. His presence was so familiar, was so comforting. At the beginning of our relationship, I had to know why I felt so close to him. And I saw that he was my husband in the past life that I'd had. I truly believe that we have been together in every life. I hope you guys enjoyed my little story. I felt the need to tell you guys about it for some reason. Please tell me if you have any theories or ideas of what happened to me in my past life. I have not tried to regress again, partly due to the fact that I'm terrified of actually witnessing my death in the trials. See you on the other side. Enjoy the life you have now. Kat.
I like that message. Enjoy the life you have now. But I mean, I don't know. And also I've never done a regression, so I don't know what it feels like. And but the fact that she felt the pain, like it transcended through the time.
That is scary.
Who
Scary,
were
scary.
you listening to in the meditation? And that I'm curious about.
Because she said her own mentor. So was it a call? Phone call?
Yeah. Wow.
That's the thing. It's like when I tried the Brian Weiss past life regression hypnosis on YouTube, I got stuck. When you're a child and you're like supposed to go through a door, I got stuck
to go to the other life. Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
So you were close.
I was close, but I was still like, I don't know. I think I was like 3.
I do also wonder if it's just like you're not supposed to tap into or learn about your past life until a certain time.
Until you're ready to.
Yeah.
It doesn't let you.
Okay, well, this next story is about a kid who knew of their past life and more creepy kids. This is from our listener, Elena, and it's called Creepy Kids, Past Life, Haunted House. Hello, Ghostesses. I've been listening to your podcast the last 2 years, and I finally caught up, so I feel like I can send in my creepy kid stories to you. My son had some experiences when he was little of remembering a past life. When he was around 3, we were leaving the house to do something, and he just stopped dead in his tracks and got this really weird expression on his face. He looked at me and just said, 1923, in this weird monotone voice. I said, what? And he replied, I died in 1923. I was obviously shocked to hear him say that out loud, but I said, okay. And we just went on about our day.
The urgency that his soul felt to like get it out fast.
It was like, it came to him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some months later, he told me how he was in a car accident with his dad, which had never happened. But he goes, yes, Mom, it did. I was in the desert with my dad and our car flipped over and started on fire. I didn't know what to say. And I said, oh, okay. And I left it at that. A year or so later, I had my daughter and my son was talking about how he has a brother too. And I said, no, honey, you don't have a brother. You have a sister. You're the brother, thinking he was just confused. But then he said, no, I have a brother. I told him that he was my first baby and I had never had another before him. And then I just had his sister. He looked at me like I was an idiot and said, it was before I came to you, Mom.
Sorry.
Like it was obvious. So yeah, apparently he had a brother and died in a car crash in 1923 in the desert. I don't know. So now my daughter is 3 and has not had any past life experience talk specifically, but she always paints the mountains and talks about going to the mountains. So who knows? But she is my child who sees and interacts with things that are not visible to me. When she was around 1 or 2, I would be sleeping in my bed and wake up. And after waking up, I would hear her babbling, saying hi, laughing, talking to something in the corner of my room. Sometimes it would look like she was looking high up, higher than a typical adult would be standing. And sometimes she would be looking in the corner. She would laugh and play peekaboo. And it would freak me out. And I would just say, okay, why don't you come lay down, please, and let's go to sleep. About 6 months or so ago, my daughter and I were eating at the kitchen table. She was watching something on her tablet when all of a sudden, she sat straight up, looked behind us and said, oh, hi. My son was at school. My husband was sleeping in our room, so it was just the 2 of us alone. I looked behind me to see if a toy or something was there, but nope. So I asked, who are you saying hi to? She pointed and said, her. I didn't have any negative vibes, so I asked, is she nice? And my daughter said, yeah, her is nice. So I'm good with her being at our house. However, I'm not sure that she is the only spirit in our house because every night when I put my kids to bed in their room, they always end up in my bed. My son is always so scared of the spirits and comes into my room. He can never give me a specific reason, but he says there's a monster under his bed.
Oh.
I never thought much of it until my daughter started saying the same thing about a monster being in her room. And my son looked at her and said, yeah, the one under the bed, right? I'm not sure. I've also heard my daughter calling Mama over the monitor to remember that she's laying right next to me. So there's a mimic.
Oh my God.
I've also seen a black figure that looks to be about the size of a 6 to 10-year-old boy watching me and then walking away into my kitchen when I was alone folding laundry while listening to your podcast. I've now adopted the habit of cleansing and asking for only good and positive energy and spirits to stay. So if you could help recommend a good place to get more sage, I would appreciate it. Love your podcast. Thank you for creating such an open and supportive community and helping me tune into my spirituality. Thank you for all you do, Elena.
I'm also just terrified. So now I'm glimpsing into my future. Am I going to hear that on the monitor? I'm making game plans in my head right now of like how to survive.
Well, clearly your whole family is very, very spiritually inclined. So it's possible there's like a bunch of different spirits passing through. The little boy makes me wonder if it's a spirit attached to like your son's past life and the brother that he had.
Mm-hmm.
It does seem like it's just watching.
Yeah.
But the mimic, I don't like.
Yeah. Because it's like kids are the best distinguisher as to whether something is good or bad, right? And it seems like there are multiple spirits. Some are good. Her is good. Her is nice.
Her is good.
And some other ones, like the one under the bed.
The monster.
Not so nice. That. Very scary.
Nothing good should ever be hiding under the bed like that. That just...
No.
Even if you're a good spirit and you're hiding under the bed, find a different MO.
No, find a different place. My God.
Yeah. When it comes to sage, you can grow some easily in your backyard.
Yeah, just kitchen sage.
Yeah, kitchen sage, grow it. Or there's also tons of different cleansing practices, and I use rosemary.
Yeah, you just got to find what feels right to you and make sure it's just ethically sourced.
Yeah.
Okay, but can you figure out where your son was living before? Yeah, in past life? Because he's giving you details.
He died in 1923 in a desert in a car fire and had a brother and a dad.
You know what? I wonder if, I feel like so many reincarnation stories have a tragic end of life. And is the like sudden death and tragedy the reason why that life kind of permeates through the present one? Because I feel like so rarely do we get a past life where it was just like, oh, I died of natural causes as an old lady. And now I'm back. It's always something shocking to the soul.
I mean, I guess that would make sense why like young kids would still remember it at such a young age, because it's like the confusion of dying in that way and then coming back to consciousness in a different body.
Yeah.
But I don't know. If you know more about past lives than we do, please let us know. If you know anything about your past life or have a reincarnation story, please email them to us at twogirlsoneghostpodcast@gmail.com. We will do many more episodes on this because it's such a fascinating topic. And if you want episodes ad-free and 1 week early, plus bonus content, you can join us over on Patreon.
Shout out to Jamie for editing and producing our podcast. Thank you, Jamie. And thank you to all of you. We love you.
We love you.
And we will see you on the other side.